I want you to imagine something for a moment. Close your eyes. Picture the vastness of the universe, billions of galaxies, trillions of stars, a cosmic dance that stretches beyond what our minds can even comprehend. Now, zoom in. See yourself sitting here watching this, asking this question. The question that has echoed through human history, whispered in temples, screamed in anguish, meditated upon in solitude. If God created us, then who created God? It's not just a question. It's a doorway into the deepest layers of existence, the foundation of everything we are, everything we see, and everything we dream. Let's begin this journey together. This isn't about quick answers. This isn't about clever arguments or easy conclusions. It's about diving into the unknown, where logic and wonder collide, where your soul whispers truths your mind struggles to grasp. For many of us, the question of God's creation feels like a paradox. If everything must have a cause, then surely God, being the ultimate creator, must have a cause too, right? But here's where we need to pause. Because the very way we think about this question is shaped by the limits of our human experience. We live in a world of beginnings and endings, of causes and effects. You see a tree, and you know it came from a seed. You see a river, and you know it flows from the mountains. Cause and effect. Cause and effect. It's the rhythm of life as we know it. But does it apply to the ultimate reality? Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt the presence of something eternal? A moment in your life where time seemed to stand still, where everything felt connected, infinite, unchanging? Maybe it was during meditation. Maybe it was when you looked at a sunset and felt the entire universe staring back at you. That feeling, whatever you want to call it, is a glimpse into something beyond beginnings and endings, beyond causes and effects. Here's the first insight I want to share with you. When we ask, who created God, we're assuming that God is like everything else in the universe, bound by time, space, and causality. But what if God is not like everything else? What if God is the foundation upon which time and space themselves exist? What if God is what philosophers call the uncaused cause, the eternal, unchanging reality that simply is? This might feel abstract, so let me bring it closer to home. Think about your own consciousness. Right now you're aware. You're hearing my words. You're thinking, feeling, existing. But where does your awareness come from? Science can explain the brain, the neurons firing, the chemical reactions. But can it explain you, the awareness behind the process? No, because your consciousness isn't something you can dissect. It's fundamental. It's self-evident. In the same way, many spiritual traditions teach that God is not a being who exists within the universe. God is existence itself. God is the ground of being, the eternal awareness from which all things arise. Now, I know what you're thinking. This is deep, but is it practical? What does this understanding mean for your life, your struggles, your dreams? Here's the truth: when you realize that God is not something outside of you, but the very essence of your being, everything changes. You stop searching for meaning out there and start discovering it in here. You realize that the same eternal presence that created the stars lives within you. And when you live from that awareness, you become unstoppable. Your fears lose their power. Your doubts fade away. Because you're no longer trying to find God. You're living as an expression of God. But let's go deeper, because even if we accept that God is the uncaused cause, the eternal presence, there's still a question that haunts us: why? Why does anything exist at all? Why is there something rather than nothing? Why did God create us? Why are you here right now watching this video? This is where the journey becomes truly personal. You see, the question of God's creation isn't just a philosophical puzzle. It's a mirror. It reflects our deepest longing to understand our place in the universe. It's not just about God, it's about us, about you, about your purpose. So let me ask you, what do you believe your purpose is? Why do you think you're here? Have you ever truly asked yourself that question, not as a fleeting thought, but as a deep soul-searching inquiry? If not, I challenge you to do it right now. Because here's the second insight: the question, who created God, is really an invitation to awaken to your own divine nature, to remember that you are not separate from the source of existence. You are a part of it. You are an expression of it. And your purpose is to embody that truth in everything you do. Let me ask something simple when you look at yourself in the mirror. Who is truly looking back? Is it just a body animated by electricity and biology? Or is there something deeper, something that doesn't age, doesn't decay, something that feels timeless even as the years pass? That something is the same mystery we wrestle with when we ask about God. It's not separate. It's the same question, just reflected through a different lens. The idea of creation, of someone or something being responsible for all of this, comes from the way we experience the world. We think in straight lines of beginning, middle, and end. But let me ask you this: isn't it strange that the universe itself doesn't seem to follow the rules we expect? Time bends, space stretches, particles can exist in two places at once. The deeper we look into reality, the less linear it becomes. So why do we insist on thinking of God as something that had to come from somewhere, like a piece of furniture that someone built and left in the room? What if God is not a thing at all, but the very act of being? Not a creator as we imagine, but creation itself, constantly unfolding, without a starting point or an end. Think about a flame. You can light a candle from another flame, but the original flame doesn't diminish. It continues to burn, giving light endlessly. God, if we dare to use that word, could be something like this: an eternal source, always giving, always creating, but never created. In the way we think of objects being made, what's fascinating is that this idea is not just mystical or poetic. Even in science, the idea of something existing outside of time, beyond the flow of cause and effect, is gaining traction. The more we learn about the universe, the more it seems to whisper back, "I am not what you think I am." But here's where it gets personal. If existence itself is the act of God, then you are not some separate creation, dropped into the universe like a stray puzzle piece. You are part of that same act. You are not watching the dance of creation. You are the dance. Every breath you take, every thought you think, every moment you live, it's all part of this endless unfolding. And when you start to see yourself this way, something shifts. Life stops feeling like a problem to solve or a test to pass. It becomes a miracle, even in its hardest moments. But let's not romanticize this. Life can be brutal. People suffer. We suffer. And this brings us to the next question: if God is this eternal act of creation, why does it allow pain? Why does a being so limitless, so powerful, give rise to a world where people hurt each other, where dreams are crushed, where even the innocent suffer? If God is the source of existence, does that make God responsible for everything, including the darkness? Here's what I've come to believe. The universe isn't divided into light and dark, good and bad, beautiful and ugly. Those are human judgments, born out of our limited perspective. From where we stand, pain looks like a mistake, a thing to be avoided at all costs. But what if pain, as unbearable as it can feel, is not a flaw in the system but an essential part of it? Think about it. When have you grown the most? When has your understanding of life deepened? Was it during the easy times when everything went your way? Or was it during the struggles, the heartbreaks, the moments when you felt like you were being torn apart? Our pain shapes us in ways comfort never can. It forces us to let go of who we thought we were so we can become something greater. This isn't to glorify suffering or to say that it's fair. It's not. But fairness isn't the point. Growth is. The universe, if it is anything, seems to care more about growth than fairness. And if we are part of this eternal act of creation, then our pain, yours, mine, everyone's, is part of that process. It's not meaningless. It's not random. It's the fire that forges us into something new. And if God is truly eternal, then that fire doesn't just burn us. It burns with us. God is not an observer watching from some distant throne. God is in the fire, in the struggle, in the breaking and the mending, in you. But let's go even deeper. If everything that exists is part of this act of creation, then why does it feel like something is missing? Why do we look at ourselves, at the world, and feel that it's incomplete? This might be the most important question of all, because it points to the very heart of existence. The longing you feel, that sense that there's something more, something just out of reach, is not a flaw in the system. It's the system itself. It's the engine of creation, the reason anything exists at all. Without longing, without that ache for something beyond what is, nothing would ever change. Nothing would ever grow. God, if we dare to use that word, is not just the source of existence. God is the longing that pulls existence forward, that drives the stars to burn, the flowers to bloom, the soul to seek. And so we come back to the question, if God created us, then who created God? The answer, if there is one, is that the question itself is too small. It's like asking, what color is love, or what sound does silence make? God is not a thing to be created. God is the act of creation, the endless unfolding of being and becoming. And you, yes, you are not outside of that. You are not separate from it. You are part of the answer, even as you ask the question. Let's look at the way we approach the unknown. We demand answers, clarity, something to hold on to because uncertainty makes us uncomfortable. The question, who created God, is one of those uncertainties that gnaws at the human mind. We want to wrap it up neatly, put it in a box, and label it as solved, but what if we're asking the wrong thing? What if the purpose of the question isn't to find an answer, but to break us open? Think about it. Everything we know, science, philosophy, spirituality, has grown from questions we couldn't answer. The mystery itself is what drives us to expand, to evolve. If God could be fully explained, fully understood, wouldn't that concept be too small to be God? If something truly is infinite, then by definition, it will always lie just beyond the reach of our understanding. And that's not a flaw, that's the design. But let's not stop there. Let's look at how this affects your life right now. There's a tendency to think that life's meaning is out there hidden somewhere, waiting to be discovered. That if you look hard enough, think deeply enough, or pray sincerely enough, you'll stumble upon it. But what if meaning isn't something you find? What if it's something you create? What if the very act of questioning, of seeking, of striving is where meaning comes from? This is where the mystery of God and the mystery of your own existence meet. If God is the eternal act of creation, and you are part of that act, then your life isn't a puzzle to solve. It's a canvas. The questions you carry, the uncertainties you wrestle with, the dreams you chase, they're not barriers to the truth. They are the truth. Because in every moment that you live fully, that you love deeply, that you create something beautiful, you're participating in the same mystery that sparked the universe into being. But let's address something that often gets overlooked. For many people, questions like who created God aren't just intellectual exercises. They're tied to something much more personal: fear. Fear that if we can't find the answer, then maybe there isn't one. Fear that all of this, our lives, our struggles, our dreams, is meaningless. This fear is real, and it carries weight. But here's the thing: meaning isn't something waiting for you at the end of the road. It's something you generate, moment by moment, in how you live. If you've ever stood in the face of something vast, an endless ocean, a star-filled sky, you know what I mean. There's a strange paradox in those moments. On one hand, you feel incredibly small, like a speck of dust in a universe that doesn't even know you exist. But on the other hand, there's this undeniable sense that you are connected to it all, that your smallness is part of something infinite. This is the heart of the mystery. You are both insignificant and infinite at the same time. And that's not something to resolve. It's something to live in. So where does this leave us? If God wasn't created, if God is the eternal source, then what does that mean for how we live? It means that life is not about arriving at some final answer. It's about staying open to the questions. It's about recognizing that the same force that created galaxies is alive in you, not as something separate, but as the very essence of what you are. This changes everything. It means that your doubts, your struggles, even your fears, are not obstacles to the divine. They are expressions of it. The longing you feel to understand the universe is the same longing that causes stars to form, rivers to flow, and seeds to grow. That longing is God, moving through you, living as you. But let's not stop at words. Let's bring this down to action. If you truly believe that your life was part of this infinite act of creation, how would you live differently? Would you hold back your love, your creativity, your courage? Would you waste your time on things that don't matter? Would you let your fears define you? Or would you throw yourself into life fully, knowing that every moment, no matter how small, is part of something eternal? This is where the practical wisdom lies. The question who created God might not have a final answer, but it doesn't need one. What it gives us is a way to live with curiosity, with humility, with a deep awareness that life is not something that happens to you. It's something you are co-creating every moment. You don't need to find God. You are already part of what God is, this endless, unfolding mystery that includes everything: your joy, your pain, your questions, your growth. And here's the most profound thing of all. If God is the source of everything, then nothing can ever be separate from it, not you, not me, not anything. This means that even in your moments of doubt, even when you feel lost, even when you think you failed, you are still part of the whole. The same force that created the stars is holding you, shaping you, calling you forward. Not because you are broken or incomplete, but because growth is the nature of existence itself. So maybe the question isn't who created God, maybe the real question is this: what are you going to do with the life you've been given? How will you live, knowing that you are part of something infinite? How will you create, love, and grow, knowing that the same mystery that created the universe is alive in you? The answer isn't out there. It's here, now, in every choice you make, in every step you take, in every breath you breathe. And maybe, just maybe, that's the best answer ever. Let's push even further. What does it really mean to exist as part of something infinite? To say that you're connected to the same force that created the universe might sound poetic, but it also carries a profound responsibility. If existence itself is creation, then every action, every thought, Every choice you make contributes to that ongoing process. You're not a spectator, you're a participant, and whether you realize it or not, you're shaping reality with every moment of your life. Most people live as if they are separate from each other, separate from the world, separate from whatever they imagine God to be. But look closer. Where does your body end and the world begin? The air you're breathing right now was part of the lungs of someone else centuries ago. The water in your blood once flowed through rivers and clouds. Even your thoughts aren't entirely your own. They're shaped by the language you speak, the culture you're part of, the people you've met. Separation is an illusion. And the more you see through that illusion, the more you recognize that what we call God isn't somewhere else. It's everywhere. It's everything, including you. But here's where things get tricky. If everything is one, if you are part of this infinite whole, then why does life feel so fragmented? Why does it feel like we're constantly fighting battles against ourselves, against others, against the world? This is one of the great paradoxes of existence. On one level, everything is connected. On another, everything feels divided. And the tension between those two truths is what drives life itself. Think about it. If existence is infinite, then it must express itself in infinite ways. That means opposites are not contradictions, they're complements. Light and dark, joy and pain, creation and destruction, they exist together, not in spite of each other, but because of each other. You can't have one without the other. And this isn't just philosophical speculation. You see it everywhere. A forest grows because trees die and decay. A relationship deepens because of the challenges it overcomes. Even the stars burn out so new ones can be born. The same is true for you. Your struggles, your failures, your doubts, they're not separate from your growth. They're what make it possible. So when we ask, who created God, we're really asking, what is the nature of existence itself? And the answer, if there is one, might be this existence is both unity and division, infinite and finite, eternal and ever-changing. God is not one or the other. God is the dance between them. And you, your life, your experiences, your questions are part of that dance. But let's not stop at ideas. Let's look at how this plays out in real life. If everything is connected, then nothing you do is insignificant. Every choice you make ripples outward, affecting the whole in ways you can't even imagine. This isn't about guilt or pressure. It's about recognizing that your life has meaning, not because someone else gives it to you, but because you are an essential part of existence itself. Just like a wave is part of the ocean, you are part of the infinite. You don't have to prove your worth. You already belong. And yet, life doesn't always feel this way, does it? There are days when the infinite feels impossibly far away, when the weight of being human feels too heavy to carry. This is where so many people lose their way. They think that because they feel small, they must be small. But feeling small is part of the process. It's a reminder that you're not the center of the universe, and yet, the universe is not complete without you. This tension, this paradox, is where the deepest truths are found. Let's take this further. If God is the act of creation, and you are part of that act, then what does it mean to live fully? It means embracing both the unity and the division, the light and the dark, the infinite and the finite. It means seeing every moment, no matter how ordinary, as sacred. Not because life is perfect, but because it's real. The fact that you exist at all, that you can think, feel, and create, is nothing short of miraculous. And when you start to live from this awareness, something shifts. Life stops being a series of problems to solve and becomes an endless opportunity to create, to grow, to participate in the unfolding of something far greater than yourself. But let's not pretend this is easy. The idea that you are part of something infinite doesn't make life less messy. It doesn't erase pain or fix every problem. What it does is give you a way to face those challenges with a deeper sense of purpose. When you understand that your struggles are part of the same process that created the stars, they don't disappear, but they do take on a different meaning. They become part of the story, not the end of it. So where does this leave us? The question, who created God, might not have a simple answer, but maybe it doesn't need one. Maybe the point isn't to solve the mystery, but to live within it. To recognize that the very act of questioning is itself an expression of the infinite. To see that your life, with all its ups and downs, is not separate from the divine but an essential part of it. And maybe that's the answer we've been searching for all along, not in words, not in theories, but in the way we choose to live. By embracing the mystery, by creating meaning in every moment, by recognizing that the same force that created the universe is alive in you right now. So, what will you do with it?